All right, so welcome everybody. It's 4:30, our weekly chat with Chris. For all of you that I have not spoken to since last year, I want to say I hope all of you had a blessed and happy Merry Christmas. I'm still not afraid to say it. And then hope you had a happy and safe New Year's. 2025 promises to be exciting. A lot of changes coming. And our prayers for the people out in California, because that's just horrible. It just amazes me sometimes, where we put policy in front of common sense, how things happen. So, without further ado, and in respect to everybody's time, if you've not been on this call, the format is typically, we talk about financial topics, but Dr. J and I have come to know each other over the last couple of years. Brilliant man, has a leader in the research. I'll bring up his some of his accolades here. He's a PhD, a global expertise, aging, longevity, and he's one of the people that helped me to really start to do a deep dive in the last couple of years on long-term care and integrating that into financial planning. And so a lot of my conversations that I'm having with folks is, what if all the traditional wisdom, what if something's wrong or off, or maybe we're making assumptions that were sort of from a logical standpoint, were the status quo, but maybe they're not the best. So, when I'm doing workshops, I'm doing classes, I'm doing things, right? One of the greatest fears retirees face, when I'm polling audiences or I'm doing workshop, I can tell you in my experience of over 30 years, people are afraid of running out of money. But it's funny that they're more afraid out of running out of money than they are of actually dying. And that was put out by Allianz. But will Americans are and should be worried about their health and healthcare costs and how that it's not you notice I put that the will, it's not a maybe, it is an absolute. If you have a long-term care event, custodial care, supervised care, there's a cost to that. And so one of the things that I used to share was in 2022, you know, what is the cost for 24-hour a day care right now, 2022, monthly? It's 20 grand a year or 20 grand a month. That's $240,000 to have somebody come into your house to help you to maintain a lifestyle. And just think about it. If this is your mom, I just got back from Florida. My mom's down there in the villages, and her husband is now 82, 83, and she's doing the best she can at 81 to take care of him, but his health, he's telling me he might have to go on dialysis, right? And do they have the resources for that type of care? And I was having to help the man in and out of the car, right? And I'm 6'4", 60 years old, and 220 pounds, and I was like, wow. It just reminds you of the fragility of the human beings and our planning. And nobody wants to think about this until it happens to you. What was the cost in 1956? And the answer is zero. And the reason is because as a society, quite often family members, right? Jim Brewer has a comedy skit where Grandpa was in the basement, you know, but we would take care of family members because we lived together, right? But things have changed, times have changed, and so as we're planning into our future, right? We have to be cognizant of what could go wrong, and are we making arbitrary assumptions on what the true cost will be, or what our shelf life will be, or what our healthcare needs will be. And that's why I'm absolutely excited to share with you the technology that Dr. J and WellSpan have created, right? Is that most of the assumptions that everybody is making under the sun is that they're going to live to 95 or 100. I don't think my mother's husband is going to make it that long. But that's the assumptions and I'm guilty of it as a financial advisor. I'll put out there to age 100. I just got off the phone with or a Zoom call with a client, and our modeling is showing to age 100. But is that accurate, right? Is that what are we doing? And if we look up life expectancy from a generic life table, asking how long they think they're going to live, we don't have a clue, right? Most people, oh well, my dad smoked, drank, was overweight, and died at 54. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I've made it past 54. So, asking somebody how long they think they're going to live, I don't know that that's the best question or an accurate barometer. And we ignore longevity and health entirely. And we're all okay until we're not. So, is there another solution? So, using tools for aging science to quickly, efficiently, and reliably estimate lifespan, health span, individuals and couples, openly and directly discuss survival gaps between partners, provide the real probability of running out of money, and look for retirement planning and investment products designed to address your unique specifics. And that's what we at Professional Planning Services do. And it's in our research when I came upon WellSpan and Dr. J, it just rang true to me because this is what I've learned and experienced. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. J. Dr. J, just tell me when to click to the next slide. So tell us a little bit about your research and what you found, learned, and are teaching and are actually spearheading as you and your team. And thank you for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having me. And I hope everyone appreciates what Chris is doing here because a lot of folks don't realize that the wealth management industry is really about 2 centuries out of date. And there's lots of new science that allows us to figure out how long we're likely to live and how healthy we're likely to be along the way. There's all kinds of new technology. And I'm just going to run you through it as briefly as I can, just to give you a sense. And please, if anybody has any questions, I'm a professor of public health in Illinois. Don't hesitate to ask. So, and a lot of the work that we've done has been covered in the media. This story came out in Barron's about how estimating duration of life is, in fact, going to transform retirement planning as we know it today. Let's take a look at the next slide, see what else we have. This came out in the Journal of Active Aging, where they were actually describing the tool that we're just about to show you. So this has already entered the world of wealth management today, and Chris is already beginning the process of deploying this to his clients. So he's actually giving you access to something that no one else in the industry currently has. This is a paper we published on the genetics of long-lived people, and that financial planning in the future actually is going to be able to use or utilize personalized genetic information that you have about yourself. And let me just tell you, when you have information about yourself that the insurance companies and the pension funds don't have, you have a huge selective advantage over these companies that are selling these policies. So, when Chris deploys this technology for you as an individual, he's giving you a benefit that no one else really has. You're going to know something about yourself that no one else knows. You and your financial advisor, at least. Let's go on. So the way things have always been done historically is asking them how long they're likely to live. Yeah, that's like 2 centuries old. Believe it or not, it's still being done today. There's new other technology. Let's hit the return key again, because this is what happens when you go to the to some of the calculators that are out there today, and they'll ask you some questions about your smoking status and your BMI, and they'll leave it at that. Yeah, it's better than not having anything at all, but it's wrong 96% of the time.
I would want to take that bet.
Yeah, and what Chris is deploying for you is this new technology that is really designed to take something that's very complicated and make it very simple. And we're going to show you what it looks like.
So that's the process of estimating lifespan, health span, and care span. Now, I will say that some of the slides are a little outdated because they've now actually integrated with a new platform, which is actually cleaner, but I still had some old slides, so that's what I'm using. But this is the dashboard of what you'll have available to you if you're interested, right? So basically, you put this in, And then what the first step that they're going to talk to what the importance of these pictures are using this technology, and that is a phone.
Yeah, I mean, simply you upload a photograph of yourself. Believe it or not, your face is a viable biomarker. It actually gives us a clue as to how rapidly you're aging. So, we have some pretty good evidence to indicate that if you look young for your age, and if you're a female and you went through menopause late, chances are you're going to live a whole lot longer than people might expect. So we are using this new technology in ways that's never been done before in wealth management.
And so the next few slides are a little bit about, the process and how much or little data you want to put in, but it is unique, isn't it, Doctor?
Well, so what, yeah, absolutely. It may not seem unique, but in fact, every time you answer one of these questions, we are creating what we call the personalized health assessment for you. We're generating something called a life table. I won't go into that, but it's far more personalized than anything that you've ever gone through before. It's certainly better than guessing, and it's certainly better than looking things up in a book. It's much more personalized. You'll see why in a minute.
Yeah, and one of the things I was shocked at, is that I thought I was healthy with trying to get 8 hours of good night's sleep, and that's actually a negative versus 7 hours, which I think is the optimal amount of time. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it varies, but yeah, overall 7 hours. And we do have some information that comes from your medical records. If you have the information available, we do add it in. Let me be clear. This whole process that we're talking about here takes about 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not complicated.
Yeah, I went through it. It was amazing. And so as I was answering these questions and you feel like you're doing well, it was interesting though. And let's talk about the human psyche part because I can tell you when I showed this to my wife, she was kicking and screaming. She didn't want to know. Well, she's also 10 years younger than I, right? But she was like, I don't want to know. But I went ahead and put in the data for her. So I at least have an idea because again, it's not cement, but it does help the modeling, right? Is what is our life expectancy, health expectancy? And what she did want to know is how often or how likely would she have to take care of me? And I weigh 220 pounds and she weighs 115.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, these questions in particular are associated with measuring health span. Let me be clear what that means, by the way. Lifespan is how long you're likely to live. Health span is the expected number of years remaining that are likely to be healthy. We're going to give you an estimate of that. And then the difference between the two is called the care span, when there's some period of frailty and disability that you need to plan for. We're going to put a number on it. And to emphasize something that Chris said a second ago, almost everyone that goes through this analysis experiences a pretty powerful emotion associated with it. Now, do you need to have this information to make decisions? No. Your advisor probably does to help you. So if you don't want the answers to these questions, you don't have to have them, but it's pretty valuable to your financial advisor when planning for your future. And you'll see why in a second when we show you the results.
Yes, sir. So here's the WellSpan report that we're able to generate for you. So, let's talk about each of these pages.
Yeah, I'll go through these quickly. So we do generate an estimate of how long you're likely to live. We do compare you to average. In this particular assessment, this individual is projected to live younger than average. Now, keep in mind, if this person
That's
was,
because he was a smoker.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, and because you do lose quite a bit of time as a smoker, but think about it. If your advisor is telling you to plan to live to 95 or 100, and your estimated lifespan is only 78, but maybe within a range of a few years in either direction, you've got very profoundly bad advice from your financial advisor if you're planning for a time period that you're not likely to have. Now, what's interesting below that is these statistical probabilities of surviving to every subsequent age. So you don't have to accept the 78. You can say, look, I want to plan for 80. What's the chance of me getting there? In this case, 37, about 37% for this particular individual. So you can make the decision to plan for whatever time period you want in the future, but at least now you have scientific evidence and numbers to attach to those assumptions.
Absolutely.
I won't spend much time on this. When you go to answer these questions, not everyone has optimum uh, risk factor profiles. Some people smoke, some people have high body mass index. So what we do is we just tell you, if you optimize these, how would it influence your subsequent duration of life and your health span? So it's just a little bit of information that you could use if you want to extend your life or your healthy life. This is how you would do it. By the way, up at the top, for this particular individual, you could see 72 and a half years are expected to be healthy, but about 5.5 years of likely frailty and disability. So now you've got a
And
number.
that's what my mother's husband's going through right now, is that frailty, that right, that is, so it's not quite needing care or some degree. They're going to a lot of doctors, let's put it that way.
So, oh, I guess let's see. This is the wife. So she must have had a very powerful positive risk factor profile because it looks like she has the potential to live to 100, which is relatively rare. By the way, it's somewhere between 5 to 7% of females can live to 100. But look, her chance of living to 90 is 81%. So she has to plan totally differently than her husband. And we're going to show you that comparison in a second, but it's a pretty powerful comparison. Right? Yeah, this is where we should go. So the husband is up on the top, the wife is down on the bottom. And what you see here is a gap of about 18 years in survival between the two. This tells you that in this case, there's a very high probability the wife is going to have to take care of her husband for, whatever that care span was. I think it was about 5.5 years. And then she's going to have to plan to be without him for about 18 years. And who's going to take care of her in those last 7 years? So now you've got numbers that you can attach to it that allow you as a couple. And by the way, this to assess your relative risk of running out of money. But this slide in particular, when couples see this, it usually provokes a pretty powerful response. I'm sure you've seen it, Chris.
Yeah, and this is one of the things, like, I almost tend to a fault, go here too quickly, right? Because this is what it's shocking to me. Because again, I've seen it happen, and I've seen clients go through this, and it's so to me, because I walked through the force and the path, and as I was learning and learning about long-term care and providing guidance and helping people to solutions. This has been a learn as you go for me as an advisor, and being able to come back and saying, hey, shout it from the rooftops. Because I tell the story where I had a client. He was 320 pounds, and he owned a business owner, and Art didn't want to pay for long-term care, and he ended up selling his business, and he finally canceled it. And she was a nurse, and even as a nurse, and she was older, ended up having to, how do you get him out in and out of bed? How do you take care of him? So they started burning through cash. Well, he died, right? And now she was on her own. And then quickly after that, she went into a nursing home, and the cost of that care of, and she had 5 kids. I watched the evaporation of that estate to a healthcare. So this is why I've been preaching this, because once an advisor, I think, starts to see this, and this is reality, and it's happened several times to both clients and family of myself personally, that I am so passionate about it. So when I first, came across WellSpan, a little over 2 years ago, this to me has become an integral part of my conversation, and to have your expertise start to dial in on using technology. This is why everybody should sit up and take notice.
Hey, don't go to the next slide yet, because I want to clue you guys in on a secret here. So if you look at what we produced for Mary Smith, we've provided a pretty powerful piece of information for you and your financial advisor that the insurance companies and the pension funds don't have. You have it. So Mary, for example, now look, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm a scientist, but we're giving you information that there's a fairly high probability that she is going to outlive what the actuaries at the insurance companies believe she's going to live to, and the pension and the annuity, the folks that are selling the annuities. So when she goes to buy, if she were to go buy an annuity, which would make sense, she's going to have a huge selective advantage over the company selling it because the company selling it is not going to have this information. So we're,
Yeah, they haven't priced in that she's likely that they're going to stop paying at 92.9. They're on the hook for another 8 years. You're in the insurance company's pocket.
yes, exactly. So what we're doing is we're putting in your hands as an advisor and for the clients a selective advantage that the companies selling these products don't have. We've
And not
been,
only not only for the annuity side, Dr. J, but also I would think for Social Security claiming and for pensions, like you mentioned, right? So when you turn that on, or how soon you start to collect, and to either to make sure that you get your fair share to maximize that income stream, that's where this technology can be extremely valuable to a couple.
yeah, and and so this is where I'm always lauding Chris on doing something like this because no one else in the world of wealth management is doing this. And so when you've got somebody who's exposing you to this type of technology and giving you this economic advantage, it speaks well to what Chris and his colleagues are doing. I'm always impressed whenever anyone is deploying new technology that's good for their clients.
Love it. So, and this is the same slide that I just showed. Just the reason I put it at the end is to help you to connect the dots. Look, there's a cost. There's a cost to do something. There's a cost not to do something. Times have changed, but we need to be cognizant. You need to work with somebody. You can't, there's no harm in taking, and if somebody wants a wealth span report, just reach out to me and I'll run it for you. There's no cost, no obligation, right? I'm a fiduciary, and I'm a seasoned vet. I'm blessed. I don't mind giving away the information. So if you want to see what this would look like for you, send me an email, right? Contact my office. We'll tell you what data we need. We'll send you the link so you can do this at your home, at the privacy of yourself. It'll generate a report and I'll get it back to you. We're at the end of that hour. Like I said, we keep these calls to 30 minutes. Dr. J, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to help professional planning services and our clients. And we're going to go ahead and play our disclosures because compliance is always relevant. And again, if you have any questions, there's my email, chris@professionalplanningservices.com. Dr. J, thank you very much. Appreciate you and everything you do. And we'll be in touch and we'd love to have you back.
My pleasure.